if you talk to advisors in our business, they're not spending 90% of their time with clients. They're spending maybe 50 or 60% of their time with their clients because they're doing all of these other things trying to run a business, whether it's marketing or compliance or tech or the HR and payroll. There's a lot of things that go into running a business. So you see larger platforms, and Socium being one of them, to be able to take those admin things off of their plate and give that advisor more time to work with their ideal clients.
Welcome to Sterling Insights, Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets, the go-to podcast for financial advisors aiming to grow their assets under management, stand out in a crowded market, and retain assets nearly forever. Are you advising high net worth clients who own appreciated capital assets? Do you want to help them sell without losing a quarter, a third, or even more of their hard-earned profits to capital gains taxes? Then this podcast is tailored for you. Each episode brings you the latest strategies and expert advice from leading financial advisors, seasoned attorneys, and experienced CPAs. Learn how to maximize your clients' wealth, minimize their taxes, and supercharge your advisory practice with actionable insights. Join us on Sterling Insights, Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets, where you'll gain the knowledge and tools to set yourself apart and achieve unparalleled success in wealth management. Subscribe now and empower your practice for a brighter, more prosperous future. Welcome to this episode of Sterling Insights. I'm your host, Roger Silk. We are joined today by PJ McDaniel of Socium Advisors. PJ is a partner at Socium, and Socium is a leading wealth management firm under the Northwestern Mutual umbrella. PJ brings deep C-suite experience across financial services and has been a driving force behind Socium's rapid organic growth and strategic expansion. Since joining as Chief Growth Officer, PJ has helped reshape how advisors scale, serve clients, and build lasting enterprise value. PJ, thank you so much for joining us today.
Roger.
I'm looking forward to it. I thought today, if it works for you, we would kind of focus a little bit on how you guys work with advisors on succession planning.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we can start there. What are your thoughts and how do you guys view succession planning for advisors?
Yeah, Roger, it's an interesting topic when you think about succession planning today, because you've got a shift of demographics that's taking place right now, right? So a couple of the major trends is just the aging of advisors. I've seen reports anywhere from 20 to 40% of financial advisors are going to retire over the next 10 years. That was according to J.D. Power that came out here this year on that study. It's a range, but you've got a large portion of advisors that are aging and they don't have a succession plan. Documented, meaning they've actually thought it out. They've found their partner that they're going to transition their team and their clients to. Those numbers are anywhere from 65 to 94% of advisors lacking a documented succession plan. The most recent stat came from Advisor Hub. So you've got this shift that's taking place. All the while, you've got larger platforms that are looking to professionalize investment management, create platforms. Clients are looking for more services from their advisors. So as you see the older generation looking to retire, pairing those older advisors with a platform that can transition the client and the trust from generation 1 to generation 2. And you're seeing those trends that will continue over multiple years. This is not just a one and done year of having the succession planning.
If between 2/3 and 94%, I think is what you said, don't have a succession plan, it's pretty likely that a significant number, probably including people who are listening to this right now, won't have a succession plan. And then, God forbid, something happens I mean, nobody lasts forever. What happens to the practice, the advisor's spouse or family, and the clients when there is no succession plan?
It will range greatly based upon the advisor, right? If they're part of a large wirehouse or broker dealer, there's a plan in place for that where those clients may go back to the broker dealer. You've got independent RIAs that may have a team around them, and that next gen may be forced into a situation where they're now leading those relationships. So it's basic estate planning. When you think about it, you need to have a plan for if something does happen. Because if you don't have a plan and someone gets hit by the bus, there's a tremendous effect in terms of the clients, the practice, and then the beneficiaries of that wealth management practice. So our hope is that people start this process sooner rather than later. I don't think you can start a succession plan too early, right? Find someone that is going to be there to step in if something does happen. And that may change over time, but you have, it's like having a will. You got to have a will or a trust just in case something bad happens. You need to have a backup plan in case something tragically happens. And then on the other end of that, ideally, it's a thoughtful multi-year succession plan where you've got Gen 1 and Gen 2 over a 1 to 3 year period of time, making sure that they can transition those relationships from Gen 1 over to that next gen.
So I imagine, PJ, and I'm sure you talk to many, many advisors, they all know this is something that they should do, right? Even though they know that 64 to 90 whatever percent haven't done it. What are some of the reasons that they haven't, and what are some of the approaches that you've found that make it easier for them to do it so that for themselves, for their families, and for their clients, it's a much better experience?
I would say the first reason is just finding the right person that that advisor trusts. When you think about our business, it's a very fragmented business. You have a lot of advisors that may have a 2 or 3 person team. You have larger ensembles that continue to grow. So the biggest challenge is finding the right person that they can trust in case something tragic does happen. It's a great business to be in, and people can do it into their 60s and 70s. I think COVID has really extended the life of advisors because they don't have to be in an office every day like they used to. Clients are used to visiting with their advisor via Zoom, and that advisor may be in Florida, they may be in California, and they're working, just part-time. That allows them to really extend the life of their career. When you think about that client, right? If I'm a 65 or 75-year-old advisor, right, you want to have a next gen that is coming along with you because those clients, you want to continue to attract new clients and they want to be working with peers. So there are several factors on why there's been this extension of a career and the lack of a succession plan. The other part of this is thinking about the values of all of our practices. When you go back 10 years ago and you look at the valuation of a wealth management practice versus what is here today, it's changed drastically because of a lot of outside capital coming into wealth management and really consolidating wealth management platforms, right? Very fragmented businesses merging into a larger platform. The values have increased greatly. So I think there's a lot of confusion or just lack of clarity on what this business is worth and how to value my business. And you hear all these crazy numbers in terms of a multiple of revenue, a multiple of EBITDA paid for the practice. So those are all driving factors on why people have not gotten their succession plans in order.
I think I've talked to a number of advisors who've said something like, yeah, I get offers all the time to be essentially bought out by one of these big RIA firms or a PE-backed roll-up or something like that. And you must hear this all the time. what's going on there? What should advisors look out for to be to as both a pitfall and an opportunity?
So we run great businesses, right? In, in that it's recurring revenue. Most of our revenue is tied to market growth. That's a very attractive business for someone that's looking for predictable income as a buyer. So one of the reasons why there's so much consolidation, in fact, you look at the M&A space, and every quarter, every year, there's more M&A than the prior year. You look at DeVoe's got a good report out on an annual basis. SRG has another good report out on an annual basis. And the facts are the facts that there's more and more M&A going on because you've got big money that's looking to consolidate these businesses. And there are a lot of phone calls, right? I think people are used to having wholesalers call. Now they're getting calls from M&A, really the acquirers and the aggregators of these businesses. And so you've got so many different options now for advisors to merge into if they want to do it. I think many advisors want to get into this business because they want to serve clients. Well, over time, their business grows, and with growth comes complexity. Now they have to hire 2 people or 3 people. Now they have to train and develop those people. And now they want to create career paths for those people. So the business owner becomes, less of the financial advisor and now trying to run a very complicated business. And if you want to get to the next level, so you want to provide those clients a broader range of services, the natural next step is to merge into a business that's really built around the advisor, where they're taking more of the admin things off of their plate and replacing that time to spend with their ideal client and prospect. If you talk to advisors in our business, they're not spending 90% of their time with clients. They're spending maybe 50 or 60% of their time with their clients because they're doing all of these other things trying to run a business, whether it's marketing or compliance or tech or the HR and payroll. There's a lot of things that go into running a business. So you see larger platforms, and Socium being one of them, to be able to take those admin things off of their plate and give that advisor more time to work with their ideal clients.
Well, that's a perfect segue into what I was going to ask you next, which is we've talked about it at an abstract level for quite a bit. If you can you talk about how Socium, who might be the ideal advisor? Let's say somebody's listening to this and thinks, yeah, I really know that I should be doing something here, but I haven't. And let's say, because you probably know Socium better than any, what would be like the ideal advisor where you'd say, hey, it really might make sense for you to talk to us?
Well, I think it's around what people's goals are. Every advisor has a different timeline. They've got certain goals. They want, maybe want to take more time off over the next 5 or 10 years. Others want to transition out of the business and do something completely different. So it's starting with the why and then backing up from there. And with the mergers and the acquisitions that we've done over the last several years, the advisor that has not really developed a succession plan, not had time to develop their next gen, those have been very successful mergers, as really defined by the client growth. So we've merged several advisors in their early 60s, and they wanted to work for another 3 to 5 years, but giving them the option to maybe work for a few more years if they're really enjoying what they're doing and they're doing less of the admin and more of the client engagement. We have a thoughtful process where we will pair them with our deep bench of next gen advisors that we've continued to grow and develop, and doing real financial planning, not picking stocks, but doing financial planning, being the coordinator around the estate planning, the tax piece, the philanthropic planning, all the things that clients are looking for these days. And over a 2 to 3 year period of time, where that Gen 1 is sitting in the first chair and Gen 2 is sitting in the second chair, and then we rotate their roles where Gen 2 needs to be in that lead role. They need to be in that first chair, at least for 12 months. And so now those clients have felt the transition from Gen 1 to Gen 2, and most of the communications, if not all, are coming from that Gen 2, right? That transition of trust is really important. And one thing that we've continued to see is that it's making sure we're clear for the retiring advisor how much time that they want to continue to serve clients. And after that, they really need to take a step out of the relationship, because then it gets a little confusing for the client. Is this my person or is that my person? So the success that we've seen are those advisors that are in their 60s, and in fact, we talk to more people that are in their 50s that haven't really developed that plan, because we want to be there as their backup plan if something does happen, right? So we can structure a purchase agreement if they get hit by the bus, more of a tragic plan. For the next 5 to 10 years, as they really want to transition out of the business, we can start to implement a more thoughtful plan where over a 2 to 3 year period of time, we start to transition those relationships and that trust. It's kind of having a worst case, but also identifying what the best case looks like.
Is there a practice profile that is a better fit with Socium than a different practice profile? Like, for example, some advisors might be really retirement plan focused, and so they might have several hundred, $500,000 average size IRAs or something like that. There's all sorts of shapes and sizes of practices, and I'm wondering if there's certain of those that are better fit than others for you.
Well, like you said, everyone has a different practice, but we start with culture, right? Do they fit our culture? Would we want to work with that advisor and their team? And if there's not a culture fit, we don't care what the economics look like. They have to adopt our core values. We will do several engagements with them to make sure that there is that alignment in culture and personality. So that's number one. And number two, we want to work with those advisors that have value around building a financial plan. If their clientele is used to maybe only focusing on a certain, let me back up. I would tell you, because investors are looking for someone that they can trust and be the financial quarterback for them, those are the ideal clients that we can really surround all of our services with. The other, I think, benefit that we have at Socium is that we are within Northwestern Mutual, and there's such an incredible talent pool of advisors that we can grow and develop within Northwestern Mutual. In fact, Northwestern Mutual has more CFPs than any other independent broker-dealer in the country. So very, very talented planners around CFPs. You pair that younger advisor with all of the services that we can offer a client, like I said, whether it's the estate planning, tax, philanthropic planning, obviously risk management, all of the retirement planning, their group benefits, group health. We've really tried to surround these clients with 360-degree in terms of services. So pairing that next gen with that Gen 1. And everyone's got a different business. Culture needs to be number one. And from there, we can see what their timeline looks like and who's the right personality to pair with the advisor.
I just want to drill a little bit on the Northwestern connection. I think it's probably a safe bet that anybody who is successful enough that he has a practice or she has a practice that they even are thinking about selling has been approached at least once by a Northwestern agent strictly about life insurance. I think a number of people out there might just sort of knee-jerk here, Northwestern life insurance. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
Do you want to respond to that?
Absolutely. That's a great question, because I'm new to Northwestern. I have about two and a half years ago. I've been in wealth management for 25 years. I was a partner in a fee-only RIA before coming inside of Northwestern Mutual. And we were part of a larger RIA aggregator. And it was interesting to hear from our peers around expanding services in the fee-only RIA. And the number one area that they wanted to continue to add services was around insurance, was around risk management. So I think you see this convergence of a fee only firm. I can't say all firms, but you're seeing more firms that want to offer more services. And then you've got the traditional insurance broker dealer like a Northwestern Mutual. And there's really convergence when you mesh risk and wealth together. I've seen both sides of this. And now that I live inside of Northwestern Mutual, I can see the benefit of being able to pair both of those in a financial plan. Now, I also got called on by Northwestern Mutual agents when I was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. Yes, there are Northwestern Mutual advisors that rely heavily on insurance. There's also there's a growing audience within Northwestern Mutual that is focused on the wealth side. In fact, at Socium, 80% of our revenues come from recurring revenue, right? From advisory. We're now at 2.8 billion in assets. You wouldn't think about a $2.8 billion A firm inside of Northwestern Mutual. There are many firms within NM that have, 500 million, a billion plus in assets. It's a great environment to match risk and wealth in the same place.
Right. I think, and I may or may not be representative of people in my generation who, so I'm in my 60s, who, when we first heard about Northwestern Mutual, it wasn't NM, it was NML, with a real emphasis on the L, life insurance. And I have sort of been an outside observer, and I think like in the 80s, it was a life. I don't know, I never looked at the numbers, but probably 95% of revenues were life insurance related. And so I think it may be that there are a lot of people out there who just need to hear again what you were saying, that the insurance part is not, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but the insurance part is like pure add-on service. It's not a driver. You're not going to be measured on your gross, whatever commission, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
But I think that probably people who've in their 60s, they kind of remember that. And maybe I don't know if you hear that when you talk to people or not.
Oh, absolutely. That was my impression when I started my due diligence process. And I think Northwestern in general gets a bad rap as just those that sell insurance. And if you really got to know that, like, first of all, the training program inside of Northwestern Mutual is outstanding. Like the training program that they create for their younger advisors, a lot of interns coming out of college, right? They are building a practice from scratch, from nothing. And they've built very successful practices. Not everyone, there's a rate that some folks just cannot make it. But I've talked to so many advisors that have got 200, 300, $400 million of assets that they built from scratch. If you look at, other platforms, whether it's RIA or Wirehouse, they absorbed it, they've bought it, they've inherited it, and they've grown it. There's very much of an entrepreneurial spirit inside of NM that's growing from scratch. So if you give that advisor the tools to offer more services, you think about the family office of services that can get offered. With that work ethic and that CFP, it's a really powerful combination.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm one of the few that's come from the fee-only world inside of Northwestern Mutual. And I joined Socium because we are very different than what people think when they hear Northwestern Mutual. This is driving with a financial plan, looking at the estate plan. We work with a lot of the business owners. In fact, I brought clients over from my fee-only firm that were business owners, and we didn't know what to talk about relative to insurance. We're having a very different conversation around funding a buy-sell agreement that they have in their business. They have a buy-sell, but it's not funded. And then you think about the higher net worth client that needs the proper risk management for estate planning purposes. There's some great ways to save on taxes by using insurance. So when I talk to my peers, I try to tell them to take what they think they know about Northwestern and take it out. And if you just look at our business and the services that Socium can offer with the full support of Northwestern, they are a great partner of ours. There's a great environment to work inside of. It's a pretty unique place that I continue to learn a ton as I've only been here for 2.5 years. And it's different than what I thought it was going to be, because I thought it was mostly insurance. It's very, very different.
So we're kind of running out of time. I do have one question, and I'll let you talk about whatever you want. Geographically, are you focused on advisors in this area or that area, or is it nationwide?
We have a nationwide footprint, and that's intentional. Our hub is in St. Louis. This is where our home base is. But we've got 7 offices around the country. We have offices on the East Coast, several on the West Coast. We have an office in the South, and we are expanding into our 8th office early part of 2026. And we'll add 2 offices a year for the next 5 years to continue to expand in various growth markets.
And so let's suppose somebody's listening and he's in an area that you don't currently have. Should he talk to you, assuming everything else is interesting? The fact that you don't have an office there doesn't mean he shouldn't talk to you.
We would love to have the conversation and help understand what their goals and timeline looks like. Obviously, leaning on the culture fit, but we merged a practice in Tacoma. Older advisor, came from the nonprofit space, built a great practice, didn't have a very good succession plan, merged into our platform. We've now, over the last 12 months, transitioned a lot of those relationships from Gen 1 over to our team. And now he is stepping into a director of philanthropic planning role, which is what was near and dear to his heart. We would have never had that conversation or known that if we didn't start with, hey, let's start with the end in mind. What do you do? He wants to get back to nonprofit. We had a 3-year goal of being able to offer someone that can help build customized charitable giving strategies, finding someone that wasn't in one of our markets, didn't have a very good succession plan. We were able to build a plan around him and add another great talented member to our team.
Is there something particular that I haven't had a chance to ask you about that you really want to make sure that the audience hears before we wrap up?
I'm so glad you brought up the question on Northwestern Mutual. That's a great question. I would just challenge every listener. Do you have a thoughtful succession plan that is documented? Like, if you're really honest with yourself and you get hit by the bus, are you excited about where your clients and how your clients will be serviced? And if not, have another conversation.
You don't have to answer this if you don't want, but let's suppose somebody just listened to that and said, I've got a plan. I wonder if PJ or his firm would look at it and just tell me what they think.
We do reviews of existing plans.
Okay.
Right. With the amount of mergers we've done over the last 2 years and what we have in the pipeline going forward, we've seen a lot of interesting deals. Some are great. Like, we don't want to break up anything that's going well, but give them some other things to be thinking about, whether they want to merge into Socium or not. Like, it's like getting a second opinion on a financial plan, right?
Sure.
Someone's going to find some gaps and like, have you thought of this? So I work closely with my CFO that came from outside of Northwestern. He came from a $40 billion RIA. He and I work really closely coming from the outside in to provide that second opinion to give people another set of eyeballs on what is likely their most valuable asset is their business.
Yep. Great. If people want to learn more about you or more about Socium, where should they go?
You can email me at pj.mcdaniel@nm or go to sa.nm.com. So we're on the Northwestern platform. So it's SA for Socium Advisors.nm.com. We'd love to at least have a conversation and understand if the plan that is documented is one that you're really excited about.
PJ, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for your time.
Likewise.
All right.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Sterling Insights. Stand out and supercharge your assets, where we provide the info you need from successful leading financial advisors, lawyers, and CPAs. Your hosts, Roger and Catherine Silk, invite you to learn more about Sterling Foundation Management by visiting sterlingfoundations.com.